The live broadcast will start in 5 minutes. IMI's integrated report is available for download at www.global-imi.com. It's also downloadable by scanning the QR code you see on the screen. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to IMI's 2023 Annual Stockholders Meeting. Let us start the proceedings with an invocation to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem.
Tumayo po tayong lahat, ilagay ang kanang kamay sa ating dibdib at sabay-sabay po nating awitin ang ating pambansang awit.
Bayang magiliw, perlas na sinamana, alaw na puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, luyang ka ng magiging, sa manlulupi, di ka masisiit, sa dagat at bundok, sa siwi at sa langit bumuka, may nilagang tula at angin sa pangailangan, ang kisap ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na napiligid, ang bituin at araw niyang kanyang pamay di mag-idilig, lupa ng araw naman ating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo, ang iligaya ng pagpay na maapit, ang mamatay na mahal sa'yo.
We will now start our meeting to be led by our chairman, Mr. Delfin L. Lazaro.
Good morning. The meeting will please come to order. It is my pleasure to welcome our stockholders to the 2023 Annual Stockholders Meeting of Integrated Microelectronics. Each year, we look forward to this opportunity to engage with our stockholders. Pursuant to our bylaws, and after giving our stockholders the opportunity to request for a physical meeting, this meeting will be conducted in a fully virtual format. Our stockholders may exercise their right to vote through proxy forms submitted by April 11, 2023, or through electronic voting that is available until the end of the meeting. Questions are encouraged and may be sent to Corporate Secretary at global-imi.com. Joining me in this meeting as presenters are Arthur Tan, our CEO, Jerome S. Tan, our President, Loris S. de la Cruz, our Chief Financial Officer, Solomon M. Hermosura, our Corporate Secretary, Alexis Brian Halihali, Head of Investor Relations, our independent directors, Sharissa Nuesa, the Chair of the Corporate Governance and Nominations Committee, Ed Chua, the Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee. Also joining us are Director Jaime Sobel Orquijo and our former Chairman, Jaime Augusto Sobel de Ayala. The other members of and nominees to our board and our other officers and representatives of CISIP Gores Velayo and Company, our external auditor, who will also validate the voting results, are joining the meeting through the live webcast. Before we proceed, let us establish that this meeting is duly convened. Mr. Secretary, have the stockholders of the corporation been duly notified of this meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On March 27, 2023, by posting on our corporation's website and by disclosure to the Philippine Stock Exchange electronic disclosure platform, we distributed to our stockholders of record as of March 6, 2023, the notice and the definitive information statement for this annual stockholders meeting. On March 30, 2023, we sent the notice together with a link to the information statement by email to all stockholders with email addresses on record. In addition, Mr. Chairman, the notice was published on March 29 and 30, 2023 in the Philippine Daily Inquirer and the Manila Bulletin. Accordingly, our stockholders have been duly notified of this meeting in accordance with our bylaws and the applicable rules of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Do we have a quorum?
There is a quorum for this meeting, Mr. Chairman. Present in this meeting are stockholders owning at least 1,514,013,956 shares, representing 68.28% of the 2,217,293,215 total outstanding shares. They are present through their appointment of the chair as proxy or by participating by remote communication or in the live webcast of this meeting or by electronic voting. The breakdown of the stockholders present in terms of mode of attendance will be reflected in the minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
As we value our engagement with our stockholders, we encourage your active participation in this meeting through the various means to be discussed by our Corporate Secretary, Mr. Hermosura, as he shares the rules of conduct and voting procedures for this meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the rules of conduct and voting procedures are set forth in the definitive information statement and in the explanation of agenda items, which form part of the notice of the annual stockholders meeting. But please allow me to highlight the following points. First, our stockholders present through our live webcast may send their questions or comments to Corporate Secretary at global-imi.com. Second, Ms. Leslie Carriazo, representative of our Head of Investor Relations, will read the questions or comments received before 9:30 a.m. during the question and answer period, which will take place after other matters under item 8 of the agenda. Management will reply to questions and comments not taken up during the meeting by email. Third, as indicated in the ballot, there are 5 resolutions proposed for adoption by the stockholders in this meeting. Each proposed resolution will be shown on the screen as the same is taken up. Fourth, stockholders could cast their votes on the proposed resolutions and in the election of directors beginning March 27, 2023 until the end of this meeting through the voting in absentia and shareholders system. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, we have tabulated the votes cast as of April 13, 2023 after the end of the proxy validation process. Those votes are from stockholders owning 1,513,975,662 voting shares, representing 99.99% of the total voting shares represented in this meeting and 68.28% of the total outstanding voting shares. I will be referring to this preliminary tabulation when I report the voting results throughout this meeting. The results of the final tabulation of votes with full details of the affirmative and negative votes and abstentions will be reflected in the minutes of this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes of the annual stockholders meeting held on April 22, 2022. An electronic copy is available on the website of the corporation. I will now ask our secretary to present the proposed resolution and the voting results on this item.
Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the adoption of resolution number S-01-2023 for the approval of the minutes of the annual meeting on April 22, 2022. The resolution is shown on the screen. Stockholders owning 1,513,975,662 shares, or 99.99% of the total voting shares represented in this meeting, have voted in favor of the resolution. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, resolution number S-01-2023 has been approved.
Thank you. The next item in the agenda is the annual report, consisting of the message from the chairman, the message from the chief executive officer, the report from the president, and an audio-visual presentation. My pre-recorded message will now be shown. Good morning, fellow shareholders. I am privileged to be elected chairman of your company last October 21, 2022. I hope I will be able to help serve the best interest of all stakeholders after these past few challenging years. With the effects from COVID largely in control, we were optimistic that 2022 would be a turnaround year given the rise of global trade. However, the world economy last year provided a challenging post-pandemic landscape. Industries were negatively affected by lingering supply chain challenges, increasing inflationary pressures, the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and the zero COVID policy in China that prevailed for most of the year. IMI's recovery has not been as swift as we had hoped. While the financial results of the core business have been positive for 2 consecutive years in spite of the material constraints and the impact of a weakened euro, a diminished group-wide performance still remains due to prevailing challenges with Via Optronics and Surface Technology International Limited, or STI. Strong structural tailwinds are present in the markets where these subsidiaries operate. As we iron out the challenges, we are committed to strengthen our core operations with focus on being more resilient and better prepared for industry-wide disruptions. As we anticipate pockets of growth in emerging sectors resulting from the convergence of new technologies and the alignment with sustainability, we strive to continuously improve our processes, cost efficiency, and open inroads for new opportunities. As more uncertainty grips international trade, given the macroeconomic trends and the movement towards regionalization, we at IMI continue to lay the groundwork for a more robust supply chain, with business strategies that are built for every region across our 20 factories in 10 countries. We are strengthening our North American presence as the electronics industry decouples from a China-centric supply chain structure. And with increasing new business wins in the areas of emerging technologies, we see the future with optimism as we build sustainable solutions and address problems of the environment and society. Thank you. Let us now turn our attention to the pre-recorded message of our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Arthur Tan.
Good morning, everyone. We all know that in 2022, the global economy faced significant challenges, resulting in a slower GDP growth of only 3.2%. That's almost half of the previous year. While the world began to recover from a COVID-19 pandemic, a worldwide electronic component crisis, and international conflicts pose substantial economic and social costs. These challenges caused economic activities to slow down and resulted in high inflation. This peaked at 9.8% in November 2022, leading to a restrained recovery of the electronics supply chain. Our non-wholly owned subsidiaries were severely impacted by limited component availability and push out of demands. Both negatively affected our group net income. However, our core operations performed much better, with 2 consecutive years of profitability, a testament to our continued efforts to effectively address disruptions. Our program wins were also highly encouraging. We ended 2022 with an annual revenue potential from new wins amounting to $352 million. As the 8th largest automotive EMS company globally, we are proud to see how major automotive Tier 1 suppliers, OEMs, power semiconductor companies, and heavily funded startups continue to trust and rely on us for technologies and design related to the electric vehicle ecosystem and vehicle electrification. Today, sustainable business practices inspire us to transform the way we do business further. Beyond developing new technologies in the automotive and industrial segments, we are re-engineering our processes with automation, data intelligence, and real-time data analysis for more efficient decision-making. While we implement our digitalization roadmap, we continue to streamline and simplify our supply chain management with faster data acquisition and a more robust and predictive vendor management system that can better shield us from shortages and geopolitical upheavals. One of our key initiatives includes firming up our regional supply chain and procurement strategies from a globalized viewpoint, giving us more flexibility to address local issues using our network and resources in the same area. Lastly, we are also ensuring that connectivity among all major areas of our global operations, from supply chain, design and development, human resources, prototyping, manufacturing, and commercial, are seamless and cost efficient. As a purpose-driven company, we continue to deepen our commitment to global environment, social and governance standards as they directly tied to our long-term value creation. Pursuing this further, we align our direction with our parent company, Ayala Corporation, as it outlines net zero targets for 2050. By 2030, we aim to reduce our greenhouse gas emission in scopes 1 and 2 by 50%. We also intend to reduce our carbon footprint in scope 3 by 25%. We are working with Ayala Corporation and third-party consultants to firm up science-based metrics and targets to achieve a healthy and safe working environment and a corporate-wide adherence to ethical business practices. As we continue to grow and achieve our objectives for more than 4 decades. We remain optimistic that together we can achieve sustainable business growth and prosperity. Over the next 5 years, we are aware that markets will further change. Electric vehicles will break the 20% barrier. Artificial intelligence will hasten product, system, and process life cycles, and more electronics manufacturing will take place outside of China through regionalization. And available manpower will be more skilled in the digital arena. At IMI, we are ready to be at the forefront of these forces of change while creating shared value through the lens of our quadruple bottom line: people, planet, purpose, and prosperity for all. We extend our sincere thanks to our dedicated employees, loyal customers, and supportive shareholders for your valuable contributions to our continuing journey. As always, we remain committed to creating value for you, our stakeholders, while driving sustainable growth for our company. Thank you.
Hi. As through the 4 decades that we've gone through, we have gone through many cycles, unprecedented challenges and opportunities. However, IMI's resiliency and agility to adapt allows us to continue developing platforms for future growth. We leverage this over our technological and manufacturing expertise to provide growth and enhance capabilities for the next 40 years. We continue to tirelessly and readily adjust to volatile marketing conditions and ever-changing customer demands, while carefully repositioning our trajectory to adapt and thrive. Do watch this next video as a snapshot of where we are and where we are headed, to be followed by the report of our President, Jerome S. Tan. Again, thank you, everyone.
Our why is as clear as day. We work to achieve a sustainable future while giving back to the people and the planet with purpose and a shared prosperity. We know who we are. We are made of the right stuff: integrity, customer focus, concern for others, and excellence. We care for our people. They too are our customers. We know what we can do. We engineer and manage supply chain across market segments. In automotive, industrial, and medical. While building world-class products in the electronics industry. We save lives, save energy, and improve the quality of life. We can do these anywhere in the world. We go beyond borders as a manifestation of the value and experience we bring into our partnerships. We know how to do the right thing. We know what's important. We go beyond. We collaborate. We are agile and mindful. Most of all, we do everything with you, because the only way to succeed is together. We are IMI, your reliable partner.
morning, everyone. Many of us consider 2022 as a year of recovery. However, lingering supply chain shortage issues and geopolitical matters continue to dampen the entire electronics manufacturing industry, significantly affecting IMI's financial performance for the year. With electronic component supply levels struggling to cope with the increased production in the automotive industry and the surge of demand for connectivity solutions, raw material prices remained elevated. China's strict enforcement of its zero-COVID policy further disrupted operations in the region, which caused complications in the global supply chain and contributed to a high international freight costs. The Russia-Ukraine war also strained the manufacturing environment as it led to increased energy prices and further troubled the labor supply situation in Eastern Europe. Our management teams across the globe worked tirelessly in mitigating these headwinds. We prepared various contingency plans and enacted several programs that drove operational efficiency. Overhead costs were improved, and we were able to alleviate the challenges of a competitive labor markets. Furthermore, our deeply ingrained partnerships with key players in the industry allowed us to renegotiate prices and share the increased costs of manufacturing with our suppliers and customers. For the year 2022, IMI posted total revenues of $1.4 billion, an 8.3% increase year-on-year. Profitability likewise improved, with an increase in our gross profit margin compared to the previous year. Most of the improvement was driven by our wholly owned sites, which reached revenues of $1.1 billion, and a significant growth compared to the past year. Non-wholly owned subsidiaries were more adversely affected by the market environment as their market segments, particularly aerospace and defense, still lag in their supply chain recovery. These subsidiaries ended the year with $298 million in sales and a total net loss of $18.2 million. With more than 50% of the business coming from the automotive segment, the health of the global electronic supply chain played a central role in determining our profitability. Contracts in these markets are almost exclusively long-term with fixed pricing models and less flexibility to pass on costs. It hasn't been easy for us coping with a component shortage that has persisted for more than 2 years, along with rising inflation and logistic cost increases. We are further constrained by strict component certification requirements, limiting opportunities for us to utilize alternate parts for automotive products. Business backlog levels across our multiple sites ballooned last year, leading to inefficient utilization of facilities and diminished profitability for this core segment. Various political issues also impeded the recovery of some of our operating sites. In China, COVID remained relevant as the government continued to enact strict policies and occasional lockdowns that disrupted daily operations. Meanwhile, in Europe, the Russia-Ukraine war led to a marked increase in utility costs for our Bulgaria, Serbia, and Czech Republic facilities. In addition, the euro weakening against the US dollar in the middle of the year curtailed our revenues from the region, which has mostly euro-denominated business contracts. The rising inflation environment also aggravated the tight labor supply in the region, leading to an extremely competitive environment for skilled labor, driving employee attrition and forcing higher labor costs. A similar situation also started to emerge in Mexico, as companies begin to see the value of regionalizing their manufacturing environments within North America to insulate their business against conflicts in Europe and China. We have been proactive in preparing for the uncertainties of 2022. Action plans were formulated and enacted, greatly reducing the impact of the challenges. Our manufacturing and industrial excellence teams remain active in identifying opportunities to further drive efficiency. Best practices were regularly shared, and advancements in processes, technologies, and automation were utilized across all our manufacturing sites. Our commercial team leveraged our position as a key player in the electronics manufacturing industry and collaborated with our customer partners to renegotiate selling prices. These allow us to share the burden of increased material and labor expenses and protect the profitability of the company. More than $20 million worth of elevated costs were successfully realigned with customer pricing this year. We also trimmed down low-performing businesses within our portfolio and replaced them with high-growth, high-margin customers that fit within our vision of serving the key markets of the future. Since 2016, we have established the company as a vital cog in the technological space while pushing the development and adoption of electric vehicles, automated driving, connectivity, and smart energy. In the past 2 years, half of our new customer pipeline wins in the mobility space were from dedicated electric vehicle projects. We have added to that by partnering with Zero, a global leader in EV motorcycles, which will be served by our facilities in the Philippines. We also expanded to bring in our business to our e-bike program in Bulgaria. Further to that, to support the adoption of EVs worldwide, we will serve the rest of the EV ecosystem through the development of various charging platforms. One example is our existing program in China, which we launched 5 years ago. We also have taken a new customer in Mexico that positions us to penetrate the American EV charging market. Our subsidiary, Via Optronics, also expanded its partnership with a leading EV manufacturer in the US, to which it has dedicated an entire manufacturing site in Nuremberg, Germany. We also want to leave a mark in solutions that enable connectivity through the Internet of Things. We have seen substantial growth in telemetry applications that extend beyond cars and asset tracking of valuable cargoes. There is also meaningful interest in technology to support intelligent manufacturing to serve the growing need for interoperability of machines and products that make the shift to interconnected smart cities a reality. Smart meters also progressively supply the necessary data to allow efficient management of energy and utilities, further driving our societies to a more sustainable future. Our European facilities remain to be strong contributors of revenues and profit, particularly in our target segments in the mobility and industrial markets. Our site in Botevgrad, Bulgaria, has always achieved a high degree of utilization with strong margin returns, while our manufacturing plant in the Czech Republic grew 42% in revenues this year, with even more businesses ramping up in the near future. The success of these two sites put our newest factory in Nice, Serbia, in a prime position to capture the increased level of demand we are seeing from the European automotive industry. The site's top line grew by 19% in 2022, with enough capacity to accommodate the additional manufacturing machinery we are bringing in to cater to the business expansions they have in the pipeline for 2023 and beyond. With a robust design and development network within our sites in Europe, our Serbian capabilities have also reached the level of expertise that allow us to manufacture complex EV applications in the country. Geographically, we have identified a trend of customers onshoring manufacturing activities back to North America. For us, this will isolate business operations from the geopolitical tensions from China and Europe. We are also excited about two expansion initiatives in North American region. First, in Mexico, we will be utilizing our capacity in the region to bring in more scale and complex capabilities to cater to the uptick in both existing and new customer demand. Second is our facility in Tustin, California, which specializes in advanced engineering and prototyping. Both have been crucial to our success in the EV market as well as our next generation technologies in the US. Our investments will expand its capacity and technological capabilities that will enable it to manufacture small-scale mass production projects within its facilities. We are confident that these investments will enable us to improve our market share in the next generation platforms in North America. With China gradually reopening and the electronic supply chain beginning to show signs of improvement, we are bullish of our ability to pivot and capture new opportunities. We are confident that we are in a strong position to push for growth with the right customers who will bring us sustainable profit. As the key pillar in the cutting edge of technology, we will continue to drive manufacturing efficiency, target reduction of component costs, and aim to improve the working environment of our employees, making sure that talent is cultivated and appreciated. In closing, I am grateful to our board of directors for their unwavering support for IMI. We deeply appreciate all our shareholders who continue to believe in the company through this challenging period. I would also like to thank our more than 14,000 IMI employees who have shown that with teamwork, even the most turbulent of storms can be weathered. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to delivering the high quality, high reliability technological solutions that made IMI world-renowned. As we move forward to 2023 and beyond, we remain committed to serving your needs, our valued shareholders, as we strive to create the technology that will bring us a safer, more sustainable, and more connected future. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, please present the proposed resolution on this item and the voting results.
Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the adoption of resolution number S-02-2023 for the noting of the corporation's annual report and the approval of the consolidated audited financial statements of the corporation and its subsidiaries as of December 31, 2022, as audited by its external auditor, CSIP Gores Velayo and Company. The resolution is shown on the screen. Stockholders owning 1,513,470,604 shares, or 68.26% of the total outstanding shares, and 99.96% of the shares represented in this meeting have voted for the adoption of the resolution. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, resolution number S-02-2023 has been approved.
Thank you. We now move to the next item in the agenda, the ratification and approval of all the acts of our Board of Directors and officers since our annual stockholders meeting on April 22nd, 2022 until today. Mr. Emisura will explain this matter and will present the proposed resolution together with the voting results thereon.
Mr. Chairman, our board and management seek ratification of all the acts and resolutions of the board, executive committee, and other board committees exercising powers delegated by the board, which were adopted from April 22, 2022 until today. These acts and resolutions are reflected in the minutes of the meetings, and they include the election of new directors and appointment of new officers and chairman of the board, land acquisition and IMI Mexico expansion, tax exemption for foreign source dividends, availment of credit facilities, implementation of strategic business initiatives, treasury-related transactions, and acts and resolutions covered by disclosures to the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Philippine Stock Exchange. Stockholders' ratification is also sought for all the acts of the corporation's officers performed in accordance with our bylaws and with the resolutions of the board, the executive committee, and other board committees from April 22, 2022 to date. These acts were performed to implement the resolutions of the board or its committees or as part of the corporation's general conduct of its business. Mr. Chairman, we are showing on the screen resolution number S-03-2023. Stockholders owning 1,513,470,604 shares, or 68.26% of the total outstanding shares, and 99.96% of the shares represented in this meeting have voted for the adoption of resolution number S-03-2023. Therefore, the resolution has been adopted.
Thank you. The next order of business is the election of the 11 members of the Board of Directors for the ensuing year. Ms. Sherisa Nuesa, Chairperson of the Corporate Governance and Nomination Committee, will explain this item.
Mr. Chairman, IMI recognizes the importance of having a well-balanced and diverse board that addresses the needs of the corporation, has the necessary expertise and experience, and maintains its independence. With this in mind, the Corporate Governance and Nomination Committee of the Board, in accordance with our bylaws and Manual of Corporate Governance, has ascertained that all the following 11 duly nominated stockholders, including the nominees for independent directors, are qualified to serve as directors of the corporation for the ensuing term. Mr. Delfin L. Lazaro, Mr. Arthur R. Tan, Mr. Jerome S. Tan, Mr. Alberto M. de la Razabal, Mr. Jose Ignacio A. Carlos, Mr. Rafael C. Romualdez, Mr. Jaime Z. Urquijo, Mr. Roland Joseph L. Duchatelet, Mr. Edgar O. Chua, Mr. Hiroshi Nishimura, and yours truly, Sherisa P. Nuesa. Mr. Chua and Mr. Nishimura and yours truly have been nominated as independent directors. Mr. Nishimura and Mr. Chua have served for more than the 9-year recommended period. Nonetheless, Mr. Chairman, the committee endorsed their renomination as independent directors after taking into consideration their commitment and dedication in fulfilling their mandate as directors and their expert insights and invaluable contribution to board discussions. All the nominees have given their consent to their respective nominations.
Baby. Mr. Secretary, may we have the results of the election?
Mr. Chairman, each of the 11 nominees for directors has garnered at least 1,455,102,417 votes. Given this, I certify that each of the nominees has received enough votes for election to the board and that resolution number S-04-2023 shown on the screen has been approved.
Thank you. The next item in the agenda is the election of the corporation's external auditor. May I request Mr. Edgar Chua, Chairman of the Audit and Risk Committee, to make the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the performance of its oversight function over IMI's external auditor, the Audit and Risk Committee evaluated the performance of our present auditor, the firm of Sisip Gores Velayo and Company, during the past year, and the committee was satisfied with their performance. The committee and the board of directors have thus agreed to endorse for our stockholders' approval the election of Sisip Gores and Velayo and Company as the corporation's external auditor for the present fiscal year for an audit fee of 4,970,000 pesos, exclusive of value-added tax.
Thank you, Ed. I will now request our Secretary to present the proposed resolution and the voting results.
Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the adoption of resolution number S-05-2023 for the election of the corporation's external auditor and the fixing of its remuneration. The resolution is on the screen. I am pleased to report, Mr. Chairman, that shareholders owning 1,513,975,604 662 shares, or 99.99% of the total voting shares represented in this meeting have voted for the adoption of the resolution. Therefore, resolution number S-05-2023 is now approved.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, are there other matters that require consideration by the stockholders?
There is none, Mr. Chairman. And if I may just mention, we notified our stockholders that they may submit proposals for agenda item, but none were received, Mr. Chairman.
We will now address questions and comments from the stockholders. Our Investor Relations Head Representative, Ms. Leslie Carriazo, will read aloud the questions and comments together with the names of the stockholders who sent them. As mentioned by Mr. Hermosura earlier, management will reply by email to questions and comments not taken up during this meeting. Leslie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We received a question from Mr. John Roderick L. Havate. His question is, what is IMI doing to bring back margins to better profitability?
Thank you. May I refer this question to our President?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As reported earlier, 2022 continued to be a difficult year for IMI, mainly because of the rising operating costs due to increased raw material prices from component shortage, the logistics costs, and the inflationary environment. As also discussed earlier in the report, we have focused a lot on working with our partners, our customers, to renegotiate our long-term contracts to be able to pass on these permanent increase in operating costs. Around more than 20 million of additional revenue has been negotiated through the increased pricing. In addition, we've also been able to successfully pass on significant amount of unfavorable purchase price variance from the raw material purchases due to the component shortage issue. So that helped in protecting our margins and also increasing or improving our gross profit margin. In addition to that, we also work on manufacturing efficiency. We have the continuous improvement program called the IMI production system that look at different ways of taking out the excess processes to improve our efficiency. In 2022, we have been able to reduce our overhead expenses through these programs of about $5 million and reduction of direct labor costs of another $4 million. In addition, we looked at restructuring some of the operations, particularly in our STI subsidiary, where we take out their operating costs due to much lower volume. We were able to take out significant amount of their overhead costs through restructuring. So that was able to help improve our gross profit margin from 7% to 7.8% in 2022. Looking forward, we are seeing opportunities as the supply chain normalizes and the global economy slow down. We expect to further able to reduce our raw material purchases to further expand our margin, and we'll continuously look at ways to reduce our operating expenses through manufacturing efficiencies and overall efficiency of the business.
The next question is from Mr. Joel O. Peña. The mobility industry seems to be shifting faster to electric vehicles. Is the transition to automotive electrification also the focus for IMI?
I think this will be best answered by Mr. Arthur Tan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this transition is very well suited for the future and for the current for IMI. As you know, the mobility revenues that have occurred happens in three different types. One is basically just the purely internal combustion engine type of platforms, which continues to be smaller and smaller within our revenue pipeline. And the other two remaining segments are the ones that are agnostic, meaning these are subsegments and electronic products that are necessary for either an electric platform or continued as an internal combustion engine platform, which a majority of our revenue still comes from. Because as you know, a vehicle will still require certain aspects such as doors and wheels and controls and chassis and suspension, and that will not go away. However, the main platform, the EV power plant itself, is transitioning heavily, and that is where IMI's growth is coming from. But we also have to understand that when we look at the automotive the transition for electric vehicle, this does not occur only in the four-wheel segment. And actually, the majority of the vehicles that is used on a global basis is actually two wheels. And so this is where a good example of where our latest partnership with Zero Motorcycles, a world leader in electric motorcycles based in California, it has started to come to fruition. This collaboration was made possible by IMI's expertise in both electronics manufacturing and motorcycle assembly. As mass production is scheduled to begin in the second quarter of this year, we are excited to help Zero scale up to meet the growing demand of their innovative products and the support of their growth and sustainability efforts. In total, our $350 million ARP wins in 2022, more than 130 million of that are attributed to go into EV and EV charging platforms. We aim to position IMI at the forefront of these next generation platforms, not only for electric vehicles, but also for automated driving, connectivity, and smart energy. IMI has very capable design and development teams around the globe who work with customers in crafting manufacturing solutions that are at the cutting edge of technology. We believe that by focusing on markets where we can add the most value, we are able to better capture market share in the subsegments that will lead to increased profitability in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
The next question is from Mr. Marlo Makatiag. Why does IMI focus on the automotive and industrial segments while revenues from the telecom spaces are reducing?
I'd like to refer this question to the Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To answer the question, we choose to focus on high-margin segments where our expertise in quality and reliability can really add value. With close to $1 billion of annual revenue potential for the new projects in our wholly owned subsidiaries that we have secured in the past 3 years, we find that there are opportunities to exit low-margin businesses to repurpose our space and machine capacity for more profitable projects. Also, the product lines that are already commoditized in the market and those that have shorter life cycles trend towards the lower end of IMI's profitability spectrum. And with increased group scale also comes greater funding requirements, and working capital intensive projects that do not generate acceptable margins are also candidates for replacement with new businesses. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
That was the last question received prior to the cutoff time, Mr. Chairman. We will respond by email to any questions and comments not taken up this morning.
Thank you, Leslie. There being no other matters for this meeting, we are adjourning this meeting. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. The link to the audio and video recording of this meeting will be posted on our website. Stockholders may raise any issue, clarification, and concern about this meeting within 2 weeks from the posting of the link by sending an email to corporatesecretary@global-imi.com. Thank you for joining us today as we now emerge from the pandemic. We remain steadfast in our commitment to our stockholders and other stakeholders to create value through sustainable technology solutions. Together, we are partners as we move forward towards a complete recovery. Please continue to take care. Thank you.